Hello and welcome to Cadiz. This is Dresden's Tale, episode 28. This is the show where we follow the adventures of Dresden XXVIII, a dwarven warrior in the Stone Clan. Our hero lives in a violent world where strength is rewarded and weakness brings sorrow. I'm your guide, Lewis Nichols, and this is season 2 of our series. It's starting to warm up in my real-world place and time. The temps are climbing, the trees are greening, and I'm sweating. Soon, it will be time to move my in-house operations back to the ground floor, where it's a few degrees cooler and closer to the refrigerator. For Dresden, it's winter in both a literal and cultural sense. How can winter be cultural? For most Celts, it's a time for community. It's a time to train and a time to spend time with family and friends. It's a time to tell the tales of the last year's adventures. It's a period for rest, relaxation, and reflection. Most of the plains don't share Moldav seasons, but the Celts who live there do. On Manelia, winters are random, usually occurring for only a month or two, then warming back up for a year or more. Then, perhaps every decade or so, a long winter will come, lasting nearly a year, sometimes more. Before the plains opened, the locals didn't count in months or years. Time beyond a day was an alien concept. Now they obey the schedule their gods have mandated. So long as it's practical, they adventure in the summer and rest in the cold winter, no matter the weather. But that's enough about the weather and the mysteries of time. We find our dwarf still on Cadiz, in the town of Georgetown, trying to enjoy the celebrations on the first day of the time of man. It's Simon's first day, 2051 years after the fall. I can't hear anything. Dresden glanced to his friend Garum. They were far back from the pulpit where a priest of Oggs read off a list. The Ranayan shrugged. He's reciting a list of names of warriors fallen in the last year. I know what he's doing. I just can't hear properly. We could leave. There should be food here somewhere. It would be disrespectful to leave. I could hear the priest calling out the last chant just fine. This guy needs to speak up. Garum crossed his arms and looked down at his friend. Shall we go tell him? Dresden muttered rudely, then noticed a small group a few feet away that were leaving. Good for them, good for us. Let's go. I'm hungry. His friend didn't argue. I've hardly seen you, you know. I'm really not mad about you getting all stiff over Leith. Everybody looks at her. They always have and they always will. I'm just glad she turned into a fighter. Frankly, I was getting sick of looking after her. I don't know what you're worried about anyway. She's not going to be interested in you. Dresden felt a little hurt, but shrugged it off. It was the truth, after all. Is this why you've been hiding for the last month? Dresden was quiet for a bit, considering his answer. Well, of course not, he blurted out. Why do you always rush me? You know, I've been studying. I've extended my range of the magical glyph. I've learned a variant. He snapped his fingers. Garum took a quick step back when the dwarf disappeared. He swept his hand in front of him. Invisibility? But his hand just swept through the empty air. Yeah! Dresden cackled as his friend jumped 3 feet in the air to the sound of his voice behind him. It's more of a tactical application. Damn wizards, why don't you do something useful and conjure up some food? I wish I could. It has to be around here somewhere, the warlock grunted. Thoughts of the feast filled his head even as the breeze brought its scent to his nose. He had been salivating over the promise of juicy tender beef, buttered hot rolls, smothered in whipped honey, apple pies, sweet fruits, bitter ales, and his stomach rumbled with the possibility. In prior years, Dresden had made it a habit of getting chased away from the best cook fires. As a child, he'd been with the proles preparing food and cleaning up afterwards. A few extra bites would come his way, but not many. The year before his Starkenfang, his coming-of-age day, he stood watch with some militia. The year after that, more of the same. Now he was a warrior, with a year to his credit. He wanted meat, not fish. Only beef would do, or pork if supplies were low. They made a pass through the open areas between the town's arboreal structures. Jesters juggled and did flips, bards took turns telling their tales, and scattered musicians filled the commons with a pounding rhythm of music. "Look at this!" Dresden pointed at a line of sun-bleached animated skeletons under the direction of yet another priest of Oggs. Following commands like a trained dog show, the group performed for the crowd. The highlight of the demonstration was how easily they could use each other as pieces of a ladder to scale one of the town's trees. Their composition tells the history of our conquest. Howls, Hessians, and all the enemies of the faith. The more decayed the skeleton, the more distant the conquest. "How long will they last?" Dresden asked the priest. "Decades. Someday they will number in the tens of thousands. Dead enemies and living heroes fighting side by side," the priest told them. He seemed a little too enthusiastic for Dresden's taste. The two dock workers nodded and moved away from the show. "I guess the Church of Oggs is strong here because so many sheep die in the camps," Dresden supposed. "Do that many really die?" Garum grunted. "I don't know why the Church of Oggs is so strong here. This is the only city I know that celebrates the first day of the time of man with feasting, much less ceremonies put on by the Church of Oggs." "Where is the damn food?" Dresden joined him in gazing about. "I could smell it." A moment later, they found themselves both staring up. "You've got to be fucking kidding me." There it was, 40 feet up, teasing them with succulent aroma. So the duo began figuring out how to get to it. "You buffoons are a sight. Open your mouths and you can catch a little of what they drop," Leith joked as she came up on them. Dresden hoped she didn't notice how bad she'd startled him. Trying to recover from the last fiasco, he thought about his words carefully. "I'm just hungry." "What happened to your eye?" She reached out to grab his face. Her hands were strong and a little rubbery. They felt good against Dresden's rough skin. His eye, Garum hadn't noticed earlier, but now that she pointed it out, "Oh damn, what did you do?" "It's a training accident." Leith wasn't gentle, maneuvering him by the head for a better look. "I missed a stroke and a jet of ethereal energy caught me in the face." She twisted his head to look at him eye to eye. She was beautiful. Running in were smooth skin, nuanced shades of green, painting their faces like a lush and welcoming forest. Leith's patterns highlighted her dark eyes perfectly. High cheekbones, the uniform ridges along her scalp, her touchable arms, the muscles of her thighs. Leith pushed him back. "That's a nasty scar. All I've got is a mark on my ass." She turned around and pulled her leather skirt down a tad. "Ah, put it away," her brother yelled. "Nobody wants to see your ass." "Dresden? Is it permanent?" "What?" He'd lost all track of the conversation. Garum cuffed his head. "Your eye, dummy." "Oh, probably." Leith considered him. "What about your clothes? You're always such a mess." Her brother laughed. "He claims they got torn up by mountain wyverns. Probably just pissed off a beaver." It was a wyvern. Dresden's voice caught in his throat. He couldn't hide the embarrassment except to punch Garum in the stomach, driving him to his knees. "I didn't lie." Leith laughed so hard she had to put her hands on her knees. "Insult challenge 1. But you really should get another set of clothes. It's important for a warrior to look good. Or at least not like shit." Garum was back on his feet, but backed away in case Dresden threw another punch. "Nanok, my master, he issues in Simon, but that doesn't matter. I don't know when I'll be back in Parncilly to collect anything. I got new shoes and some other stuff at the docks, but I haven't worked there long enough to qualify for anything else yet." "You're such a kid." She grabbed him by the hand and dragged him toward a ladder. "All you need is your travel journals, and you can get whatever you need on Nanok's house. That's a hell of a house, by the way." I can what?" we'll get you some clothes and a set of padded leathers just in case. And don't get carried away. Sometimes warriors get greedy. Then again, I doubt a high priest is going to give a shit about a bill for some clothes, especially if the last set got torn up by a battle against a wyvern. Of course, if you're lying, he'll probably have you killed. Are you lying? He shook his head. Garum, you just wait there and look stupid. Good job. Keep it up. We'll be right back, and then we'll go to the camps. They'll have food there you don't have to climb a ladder for. And that will wrap things up for today. Leave a comment. Hashtag Leave Saves the Day. Sounds like the boys might get some pork or beef or something good to eat after all. I thank you all for dropping by. Leave a like, share, come find me on Twitter, do all that fun stuff. You can even check out my selections on the Kindle store. But most of all, thank you for dropping in and listening. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.